Hi everyone, welcome to another On the Buses live question time. Just a few days after I attended Anna Karen's funeral down in London on Friday. I think it went quite well. She got a good send off. The weather was lovely for it. Sad occasion, but I think it would have been within our liking. A lot of people spoke at the service in the church. The memories of Anna. Hi, Anthony. Quite a few famous faces there as well. And then afterwards, I went back to the wake afterwards, which was held in our public house about maybe less than a mile from the Golders Green crematorium. As for you asking there about people that were there, the people that were there at the wake afterwards and at the funeral service, actually at the crematorium as well, were a lot of the newer, the younger EastEnders cast. Don't know them by name because I don't really watch EastEnders, but I did recognise them by face. Also, Melvin Hayes was there. Kate Williams, of course, who was there. I had a chat with Kate. Also, Michael Robbins' kids, Ben and was there. You also had John Altman was there, Nasty Nick Cotton. Also there, Nigel Pavaro. You may remember Nigel Pavaro played Terry Duckworth and Coronation Street for a fair few years up until the early 2000s. So it was quite well attended. Sophie Lawrence was also there. He was in EastEnders in the early years. I didn't do much in the way of talking to people. I spoke to Kate a few times. I spoke to Catherine. Catherine Wolfe was there as well. Catherine Wolfe is the daughter of the late Ronnie Wolfe. So if you've got any questions about On the Buses, ask away. Yeah, and thankfully it wasn't like Stephen Lewis's funeral. Stephen Lewis's funeral, maybe it's just because of where it was geographically situated. Stephen Lewis's funeral was, as I recall it, there was a heck of a lot of sort of like autograph hunters standing around outside the church and taking loads and loads of photographs. It was a lot more. There wasn't so much of that that I saw anyway on last Friday, which was good because it was what Anna wanted. She wanted and she wanted it kept private. I know from like when I was given the invite to go to the funeral, I was told not to share the details of where it was going to be held and things like that because they wanted it kept private. So if you've got any questions about On the Buses, you know what to do. Post them up here. Anything to do with the cast, the crew, the filming locations. No, I knew it was always going to be there for the simple reason as that's where Terry Duggan's buried. Terry Duggan was her husband. And Terry was cremated and interred there, so it was always going to be the case that would have been there as well, because no doubt she's got a plot probably right next to him or in with him, if you see what I mean. So it was always made perfect sense that it was going to be there, to be honest. So any questions, post them up and I'll answer them as soon as I see them. Hi, Cheetah. You got any questions on the buses? Post them up. Anything to do with the films, the episodes, my books, the events organised, anything like that. Not sure what you mean by that, Scotty. I'm not sure when I'll be going back down to the holiday camp. I am hoping to do it in the next few weeks at some point, and actually get within on site and do some live locations videos then. Well, obviously, it's an end of an era with none of the main cast now with us. But when you think about it, logically for a minute, you've got to remember that you're talking about 50 years since it actually ended. So it's quite inevitable, really, that having such an old series that you're going to have people passing away, especially the cast themselves. You've got to remember that a lot of the cast themselves were no spring chickens like Doris and Reg were middle-aged and beyond middle-aged when they were actually filming on the buses anyway. So it's quite inevitable that like obviously Anna was the youngest and she was the last to pass away in tragic circumstances, obviously, but it is inevitable, really, if you think that it was 50 years ago that it then finally ended. Yep, that's right, Scotty. A lot of people contest that, but that's the case. No, not yet. I don't think it's any real mystery anyway. Basically, from you can piece it together yourself and work out what happened. Obviously, it would have been smoke inhalation, thankfully, and not burns that she died of, because they did try and revive it on site, if you know what I mean. So it was just, I would imagine, smoke inhalation that caused it. Yeah, that's true, Anthony. Of course, it's like if you look at Laurel and Hardy, for example, they still go on sort of like watch their films and laugh at them now. And obviously, the last of them died before On the Buses have even started. So that just shows that good comedy will go on, it'll live far beyond the people that actually made them a great success, if you know what I mean. Hi, Rob. Yeah, yeah, it was very sad, and the circumstances, the way that it happened, made it even sadder, obviously. Um, but well, like things move on, don't they? I suppose. That's all you can really say about it, really. Yes, Scotty, I do. I'm glad you enjoy the locations. As I said, I am hoping to go again to head down to the holiday camp where they filmed Holiday on the Buses. So I don't know when it'll be. Hopefully within the next few weeks, and I'll be able to get do live location visits from the holiday camp. So you know what to do. If you've got any questions, post them up here about the episodes, the films, cast, crew, anything to do with my books or the events organised or walking tours. Feel free to post them up, and I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. On the morning of the funeral, I don't know if people here or how many are actually on my Facebook page. I did go and pass the Water Rats bar and venue. Obviously, that was a place that was very dear to Anna as well. Anna being a Queen Rattling of the Order of the Water Rats. She got that honoured in the I think it was 1990. That's on the Gravesend Road for anybody that wants to go and pay a visit. I only walked past it and got a few photographs and all of that. It might be something that they have to work on, obviously, because it came a bit out of the blue, I suppose, any sort of tribute thing or anything like that. Yeah, he seems to be doing quite well from what I've seen of him. Anyway, I didn't really approach or talk to them because obviously they're in their own spaces. I don't like barging in and sort of like things like that. But it was quite funny because both when they came to leave, he left with Nigel Pavaro. They must have been going off for a drink somewhere or something afterwards. Which is quite funny because around about the same time, one was in EastEnders and was a nasty, obvious character, and the other was in Coronation Street, which was big rivals, obviously, and he was the nasty character in Coronation Street. So you know what to do. Post up any questions you've got. Can be about filming occasions as well. Yeah, that's right, Anthony. Yeah, it's only about maybe 5-10 minute walk from King's Cross Station. Yeah, as I say, I don't know the characters that they play. I know that there was a number of people there that were at the EastEnders and all of that. So, but I don't really know them by name, if you see what I mean. Oh, Rudolph Walker was there as well. Rudolph Walker was there, obviously from. He was in a couple of episodes of on an episode there on the buses, the very first one, and of course he was in EastEnders as well, like Anna was. So Rudolph was there. And I do believe that little Mo from EastEnders was there as well. So, as I say, it was quite a good turnout. It was weird as well because I didn't actually notice it until I actually ran a Google on it because he looked so different. But the man that was doing the service, that was doing the service in the actual church, was an actor called Gary Hales, which is I recognised the name, but not the face, because obviously the bloke looked totally different from when he was actually. It wasn't until I looked it up, because it was bothering me. You know, when you get a name, and he knew Anna obviously from the words that he was saying about working with her and all that. So I knew that it was an actor, but it was the man that played Barry in EastEnders. You may remember he had the first it was the first gay relationship on EastEnders, well, on television, I do believe. There was Barry, the younger one, and that's who was doing the actual service, and you had Colin, the older bloke, if you know what I mean. So it was. I was surprised when I seen that, because obviously in EastEnders he looked totally different, a lot younger, obviously, than what he does actually now. So you know what to do. Post your pick, your any questions that you've got up about on the buses. I was looking as well, because somebody brought this to my attention as well. Obviously, well, it's not brought to my attention, but it jogged my memory about it as like the new release that there is aligned of the Thief on the Buses films. That's our actual Australian release. Apparently, all the thingies, the films are much better restored than the actual British release. But obviously, at the moment, they're £40, but hopefully, in time, they will come down in price. I would hope. If they do, then I'll probably look to go and get a copy of them as well. They do have the trailers on them as well, I do believe, from the films. Well, she'd like Anna. She does teach grammar as well. I think it's at the Italia Conti school. I think it is. Does Kate, and she does still do roles now and again. So she's not quite retired yet. Nah, they weren't there. But Barbara Windsor's husband was there. Scott. I seen that he was in attendance, but he didn't attend the wake afterwards. But he was at the funeral service. My favourite film, Paul, was the first film. I would go with the first film because I love the soundtrack's really good. I think the storyline works really well as well. Plus, as well, I like the fact that it's set in the bus depot. Like, obviously, most fans would say Holiday on the Buses. Um, the only thing I think that detracts from Holiday on the Buses is it's not set in the bus depot like you always feel that it should be. And also, as well, Holiday on the Buses is tinged with sadness for me, because you watch it knowing it's the last time that they ever worked together, if you see what I mean. So I go for the first film for those reasons that I stated. So keep your questions coming in. I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. Anything to do with on the buses, the cast, the crew, the filming locations, episodes, films, anything like that. And I'll answer them for you as soon as I see them on the screen. Or anything to do with my books as well. Or the events or my walking tours I organise. Yeah, I do believe she did, Anthony, and Vicky Michelle was there as well. Yeah, that's jogging my memory on Vicky Michelle being there. Yeah, well, a lot of the series were filmed and during when it was cold. I mean, you may remember the episodes, the squeeze when they take Blake out for a run in the sidecar. You can actually see remnants of snow along the side of the road. So yeah, it didn't really matter them if they had to film a location on set dates. They had to do it. If you see what I mean, it was they didn't really have a choice what the weather was like. Not at the moment, Neil. As I say, that's a little bit too early to talk of things like that. There might very well be a time when there's something like at the BAFTA Theatre or something like that. They might have some sort of service like that, if you see what I mean. And that's the sort of places that they tend to do celebrations and things. Favorite moment from all the series, it would probably be um, probably the scene with the breathalyzer in from the um, Brew It Yourself episode, I think. I just think that's so funny the way that he keeps saying, "No, wait, wait, just now the hand's gone past and he's trying to hold the smoke in his mouth," if you know what I mean. So I would say that one, Alfie. Yeah, well, as I say, that episode was filmed around about when the Blake and Oliver walking back to Stan's house. That was filmed around about January time, so it would be cold, obviously. Probably I filmed it around tea time when it obviously was getting would be getting dark. It'd probably be around maybe filmed around about six, maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, I'd imagine. The badges that they used, I would imagine, obviously they would have had the FFs on them. They probably took a thingy. They got tips off of the where they actually because they actually filmed at a proper bus depot. So they probably had enough info from looking at the real busmen's badges to just do replica ones for the cast, if you see what I mean. Yeah, I would imagine that would have just been rolled down the wheel, down the roads, Scotty, obviously, to give the effect of it like that. I know Bob Grant speaks of someplace sort of obscure that surprised them. I think it touches on it in one of my memories in one of my books here. Just hold on. I'll just get it out and I'll read it out to you what he said. Let's see. No, what am I doing? Wrong place. So, right, so this is when he was getting interviewed by our Scottish DJ on the Kirkcaldy Hospital radio station. Called the DJ was called John Murray. So this probably would have been when he's talking about this probably would have been about 1977 or something like that. He's relating to this incident. So I think this interview was done in the late 1970s, 1979, I think. So this would be about 77 that he's speaking of here. He says, a couple of years ago, I was in Bombay and the ragged little urchin, I suppose he was only 5 or 6 years old, just dressed in a loincloth, was staring at me very intently for a very long time. And eventually he said, on the buses, in an Indian accent. And where this little urchin could ever have seen it, I don't know, but I suppose he must have seen it in a shop window or something like that. But it was quite astounding to be standing in a street in Bombay and know that you were known even by a scruffy little street urchin like him. It was really very touching and very heartwarming and very funny. So that's one place there, I suppose you could say straight away, somewhere away far out in some place like India. And that's from obviously Bob Grant himself. Uh, Favorite cast member I've met. I would say John Lyons. Yeah, I'd say John Lyons because he's a great mine of information, and he's got answers for any question that you've got, and he's very talkative as well. He'll answer any questions when he's been at a guest at our event as well, which is really great. That's what you want from your guests. So I would say John Lyons maybe. Well, they just tinkered with the pace of it all, really. It didn't really change at all. The theme didn't. It was the same music, but they just slowed it up and a bit for the from I would say Serious 3 onwards. I would say what happened was it started off slow for Serious 1. It was really pretty slow, and then they speeded it right up for Serious 2, and then slowed it down a bit for Serious 3, and that's how it remained for the rest of the Seriouses after that, like Serious 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So keep your questions coming in. Any more questions, just post them up and I'll answer them for you. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Scotty. I don't get what you're saying about the first mum. I still don't get what you're trying to say, Scotty. You always wanted Dorothy for the part, if that's what you're trying to say, but she wasn't available for the first series. That's why they had to get in Sicily Cottage for the first series. So it was always intended to be for Doris here. So don't believe all these people who say, "Oh, she got the sack" and things like that. No, she didn't leave. It was always meant to be Doris here for the part of Mum. But when they went and offered the other part, she was going to be out of the country, and they couldn't change the filming dates, so they had to get another replacement, which was Sicily Cottage. And then once the second series got commissioned, after the first series gained enough a big audience, Doris was back in the country and available for filming. So she took over the role that was always intended for her. So keep your questions coming in. Anything to do with the episodes, films, my books, filming locations, just ask away and I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. Yeah, that's right. It was. I think it was Radio Luxembourg, if I remember rightly. Soon tell you it'll be in my book here anyway about it. It was. Let's see. Yeah, Pete Brady. That's who it was. I'll soon tell you what radio station he worked for. Yeah, so he was also what he was at the time when he was on the buses. He was actually a TV presenter in Magpie. He actually done a bit of that. There was a DJ that he first done when he came from Canada over to the UK. And the early years, he was a DJ on Radio 1. And then after that, he came was an actual TV presenter on ITV around the time that he would do I think it was 69 to 72 or something. He worked on Magpie, it was. You may remember Magpie. So have you got any more questions? Or the database, oh, sorry about that, cheater, I missed your thing there. When did I start the database, this YouTube channel? I've had a YouTube channel for maybe about 10 years or something like that, but only really started to push it. I would say it was at the start of the pandemic. So it'd probably be about a couple of 2.5 years ago. That's when I really started putting on the buses material on at a great degree. And I think I rebranded the channel, the On the Buses database. So I think it'd be about maybe, I'll soon be able to tell you because it would be, I know from when the videos are started posting up here would be, I'll soon tell you in a minute if you bear with me. I'd say it was sometime around about this, the beginning of 2020, like around about the time of the pandemic starting. So you're talking about 2 years now that's been running under, like I think I rebranded it, the On the Buses database, maybe a few months after started putting up more and more videos, if you see what I mean, of On the Buses nature. Yeah, so we're like about 2 years ago. 2 years ago now, I would say. Or the set designers and all that could do anything really. Basically, I mean, they were really great at the jobs. You had me worried there when you said about sad bit of news about the relation, the filming location. First of all, you were going to say that they were bulldozing the whole road and putting a motorway there or something like that. But sad about the pub, obviously. But at least the location's sort of like still there and unchanged, if you see what I mean. Just wonder what will happen to it. Whether it might, you never know, it might be open again. There's another, they might just rename the pub and call it something else. So keep your questions coming in. Anything to do with On the Buses, I'll answer them for you. Anything to do with the cast, the crew, filming locations, films, episodes, the events organised or the walking tours? Just ask them and they'll answer. Well, that was already set in stone about them being able to come back for the thing for the films, if you see what I mean. That would have been done and all contracted to and all of that as well. But Reg was able to come back because they had his rest that the doctors had ordered them to take. And Michael, obviously, it was only about 6 weeks of filming, so it didn't obviously it come at a window of him when he was free to film it as well. I find it hard to think that it'll be a house, so if you see what I mean, that they're going to build there because of its remote location, if you know what I mean. My favourite character personally, I always had a soft spot for Arthur. I just love these great timing and his wonderful delivery of lines, his dryness. Hi, Martin. I think Kate concurs with me there as well. I remember when I was having a conversation with Kate, I think it was at the Holiday on the Buses cast reunion event at Prestatyn when I was chatting to her. I think Kate recognised Michael Robbins and Bob Grant as really good, excellent actors with our timing and delivery and all of that. And she also thought highly of Stephen as well, Stephen Lewis. I think it was because a lot of them they came through and done their training at same sort of places that Kate did as well. So obviously she knew how well grounded the grounding that they must have got going through acting school and all of that. Whereas Reg never done it, Reg sort of like learned in a different way. Same with Doris was different. Doris obviously learned from a very young age, but she learned from her parents and the family that she worked with in our travelling theatre and all that for the early years. Whereas Reg was different. He started off as a one-man entertainer, like played piano and stuff like that, and the working men club scene. So those two were quite different in a way, whereas your Steve and Bob, they came through acting college and all that. So just keep your questions coming in, and I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. There may be a time as well in the future where what we'll have to do is I may have to do some of the videos that I've done already again, because obviously a lot of them now, like my filming locations video for the films, so I've found new filming locations, so there's actually more then and now photographs to actually go into the videos as well, so I may have to redo them all again. Nah, June Brown wasn't there. So you got to remember, Scotty. June would be 90 something now. I think June's in her 90s now. I think June Brown. Yeah, June's 95 now. So nah, I wouldn't say so. Done far worse than that. He went along on that little trolley thing when he off the back of the bus in the first spin-off film. So falling through a table, I don't think we bother him too much. Yeah, that was Alex Munro. He was a very noted Scottish comedian, performed on a lot of stage shows in his native Glasgow. Very big star up there on the stage as a stand-up comedian and as an actor. And then he moved down to Wales, obviously, and they helped save the Llandudno Theatre on just nearby, just along the coast, the North Wales coast. Sadly, he passed away. That's where he passed away. Was in Llandudno. He passed away in 1986. He's actually got a thing. If you go to Llandudno, and he's actually got a road named after him called Alex Munro Way. That's in memory of obviously of the work they've done to save the Llandudno Pier Theatre in the 1970s. Well, I don't think you'll see that. I mean, each stage work probably between the 1940s, 1950s. So obviously, he wouldn't have been filming stuff like that when he's performing, doing his stand-up career. He was in. He did have roles in one or two smaller stuff like Z Cars. Yeah, it was a necessity, an essential thing is eating. You don't get bored of eating, do you? It's part of the scene as well. And they would have made sure that they never had anything to eat for, I would imagine, for the scenes, so that they were quite hungry by the time. So if they had to film it again, they weren't really being overfed, if you see what I mean. So, nah, it wouldn't have bothered them at all, really. So, keep the questions coming in. Yeah, it came for the LWT canteen. They just brought it along the corridor and onto the set. So keep your questions coming in. Oh yeah, she was in a lot. I think she was in if I remember right, I'm sure she was in an episode of I think I'm getting them mixed up. Let's see. I think I'm getting them mixed up with somebody else. Yeah, but she was in a heck of a lot. That was Canteen Trouble. I think the episode that you're thinking of, isn't you? That's what you're thinking of. The woman anyway, there was Fanny Carby. That was her name. It's just come to me. She was in a heck of a lot in the 60s, 70s. A heck of a lot. she carried on working right up until shortly before she passed away as well. So she was in a heck of a lot. Coronation Street. She's also in Sickness and in Health, I do believe. Other great stuff that she was, or noted stuff. She was in episode of Sweeney. She was in How's Your Father? Also had a part in the big hit film The Elephant Man. Z Cars. She was in Z Cars and Dixon and Doc Green. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff she was in. Noted actress. So keep your questions coming in. Any more questions, just post them up and I'll answer them for you as soon as I see them on the screen. It might have been all right, Neil, because the ones that they wiped tend to be a little bit earlier than back in the 60s. So on the buses would have started in 69. And so they probably wouldn't have wiped the ones in 69. Like I think they wiped some Dad's Army, didn't they? But I think Dad's Army started slightly earlier. So it's touch and go. They might have done, they might not, but I do doubt whether they would have got as long a run on the BBC, if you see what I mean. So you would have found then that it was it might not got as good a run. I think that's the only thing I would say with it. That actress was Luann Peters. I think she went on to be in an episode of Fawlty Towers, I do believe. I might be wrong there, but I think she was in an episode of Fawlty Towers a few years later. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think they redone them, I think. But it probably might not have got as long a run on the BBC, I don't think, but there you go. So keep your questions coming in. I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. But certainly say that it probably helped it being on LWT, I would say, because obviously it was the big thing for LWT. It was their hit. So obviously they treated it with more love than with the BBC. They had so many hit comedies around that time. They had Dad's Army. They had Till Death Us Do Part. They had Steptoe and Son. They had the Likely Lads. So they had so many hit comedies around that time. You know what I mean? It was like a too many cooks sort of thing. You might have thought might have happened with it. Whereas that was LWT. That was their big. Their biggest hit around that time. Although they did have one or two other comedies around that time as well. I think they had. The Doctor series, didn't they? Doctor in the House, that was kicking around then, that was about to start, and also they had Police as well. I think the writers originally, the writers say that they felt that it was too working class for the BBC, and that's why it got turned down. Although they did also add that they were told that how many jokes can you have about a late running bus? You know what I mean? So they never saw the merits or the potential of storylines and all of that obviously the writers had. So that was probably the primary reason it got turned down, I would say. Yeah, Dodge Man. I mean, he turned up in everything. Michael Robbins. He was a very prolific actor, if you see what I mean. There's so much that Michael did throughout his career, and dramas as well as comedy. Obviously, and they done the voices as well, and they I think it was a couple of the PG Chimps adverts, if you see what I mean. I don't think it was Canteen Trouble, James. I think it was another episode you'll find. I think it was Friends in High Places. Canteen Trouble was our Series 5 episode, and Claire Davenport wasn't in any of the Series 5 episodes. So I'm pretty sure it was Friends in High Places. That's when she's the cook. All right, hold on. Yeah, sure, sorry. There was 2 Christmas specials in total. The 2 Christmas specials, I think, were 71 and 73, or 72, sorry. 1970 and 72, I think it is. One of them's been wiped. Another one still exists, and it's on our DVD. You can get it. It's on our... What DVD is it on? Christmas Carnival, I think it is. ITV Christmas Carnival, I think it is. They were only 5-minute episode sketches. That's all that they were as well. And they would have been at the, and they were screened during something. They had ITV had a show called Christmas a Comedy Carnival, and they used to have 5-minute sketches from various sitcoms of that time. But there weren't any other one-off specials or Christmas themed. Nah. So there was only the 2, and one is actually on the our DVD that you can get. It's the ITV comedy Christmas Comedy Carnival. As I say, the ITV used to have a show like that each Christmas, and it would have various sketches and all that from sitcoms and other stuff tied into it. The 72 one hasn't got Reg in it. It's got Stephen, Bob, Anna, and Doris in it. And I think they've got Larry Martin as a bus driver in it. So obviously this would be between, I would say, just when they're about to start filming Series 3, but just before that, around late 72. Of course, around that time, Michael Robbins had left on the buses from then, so that's why he wasn't in it. And obviously, Reg wouldn't have been in it as well, because he would have been needing as much rest as possible for filming stuff like that. Yeah, she was in all of the series in Scotty, from Series 1 right through to Series 7. You actually see her on the sitting on the bench. That's in the new Inspector episode, which is Series 5, episode 5. The new Inspector, when Stan pulls up a clippy for in the depot, he tips it off for having a short skirt on and all of that. But when she's coming out of the manager's office, she walks past Iris and another woman who's sitting on a bench, who pass her the market on. Iris is one of those, so that's how I know for a fact she's in Series 1. She's also, I think you see her in amongst the crowd when they're voting on the what to do with the canteen and all of that. Might even be in the very first episode when they're voting for strike action. She's in amongst the crowd there as well. So keep your questions coming in. I'll answer them for you as soon as I see them on the screen. No, they would have been contracted to appear in the films there. As I understand it, after the first film was such a smash hit, obviously it was such a massive hit at the box office. It was one of Hammer's biggest earners of all time. The first film, then it was a two-film package that they signed up for after that. So that would have probably been all sorted by maybe late 1971. I would imagine they signed up for another two-film package of it. Yeah, no problem. I've got it here somewhere. If you bear with me, Cockmeister, I'll see if I can find it for you, just so that you know what you're looking for if you go to look for it. I've got it here somewhere. I'll try and see if I can find it for you. Or I'll see if we can get you a link online. I know I've got it online somewhere. If you just bear with me a tick. That was Caxton Hall where they got married there. Bob got married. Caxton Hall in Westminster. There you go. That's a link to it there for you, the Comedy Carnival that I'm talking about. Don't know what you're saying there, Scotty. I'm not sure what you're asking. Um, but it's just along the road there is as well, Caxton Hall. It's just along the road from a place where I've visited a few times. Where they hold, don't know if they still hold it there, but they hold the London Comic Con there. Now that stretch of road, if you mean when they're reversing into the depot and all of that, that you see them doing in one or two of the episodes, obviously around that time the depot was actually there, and they would be doing that. The drivers, people who were driving cars then, knew that sort of thing was happening around the depot anyway. So it was something that drivers of that time would have been used to in that particular area, if you see what I mean. Because obviously it was an active and very busy bus depot, so that sort of stuff was going on in that area all the time, if you see what I mean. Yeah, I think I've seen those ones. They're on Facebook. Yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. The Cookmeister. No, the an interview that I've got, Scotty, from obviously that's one of the reasons why they decided to call it a day and on the buses, because Bob and Stephen were mostly writing the episodes around that time then, and they admitted themselves they had run out of ideas for it as well. Plus, obviously, they would have seen they had lost Reg and Michael, and seen decided that there was a good time to quit when it was still reasonably well high, still up the charts. So that's why they decided to quit when they did at the end of Series 7, although LWT did that were ready to commission our 8th series as well. Yeah, James, I agree with you on the allowance. The allowance was an episode I enjoyed a lot. The allowance was a very good episode, I thought. Hot Water was another very good episode as well. So there was, as you say, James, I agree there was some very strong episodes. But it became, I would say, Series 7 was much more sporadic, whereas earlier series had quality running throughout it. Whereas it became a little bit more hit and miss. There was some very good episodes, some not so good episodes, if you see what I mean. That might have been caused by the fact that they had different writers as well working on it then. Whereas they had, in the earlier series, you had the continuity of it all being written by Ronnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney. Because obviously, if you think about it, with different writers who don't really know how to get the best out of the cast, that's a little bit stabbing in the dark with the humour that you're writing, if you see what I mean. Whereas Ronnie Wolf, Ronnie Chesney did sort of know what the cast strengths were, if you know what I mean. Yeah, the cast all got on great. Yeah. Dollars taps on that, and the Wogan interviews. Bob taps on that in some of the one of the interviews I've got. Anna taps on it as well. Yeah, it wasn't the strongest of episodes, obviously. I think the strongest episodes in Series 7 were Hot Water, The Allowance, Perfect Clippy wasn't a bad episode, I suppose. Didn't mind the football match. Some people I know don't take to that, and I didn't mind on the omnibuses as well. But was she though? That's the thing, Neil. Because you notice how she says it. She says Arsenal, Arsenal. She doesn't actually say it like you would do, like Arsenal. It's Arsenal. So keep your questions coming in. You've got any more questions? Just answer away. Ask them away, and I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. You could put up a whole load of your Series 3 episodes, and they could make it into your top tens, I think. Series 3 was really the golden period of On the Buses in terms of the episodes, if you see what I mean. The amount of classic, what you would call classic episodes, came out of series. Well, a lot of them were from Series 3. You had Foggy Night, you had Blew It Yourself, you had the New Uniforms, you had the Squeeze, you had the Snake, you had the Cistern, you had First Aid, you had Busman's Perks. You know, you could just reel off so many of the episodes there, and they were all top notch. Yeah, it's a good premise like that. It's a bit of a different episode as well, Neil, if you see what I mean. Um, if you think about it, it's sort of like a different episode because it's set entirely on the bus, and as you say, it's got this sort of creepy element with the and being stranded in the fog. So it's very atmospheric. I think is the word that I'm looking for. That's why it works so well. I would say. And amazing to think sort of like most of it was all filmed in the studios, although you've automatically your mind thinks it's on a bus stranded out in the middle of nowhere, when in fact it was mostly all shot in the studios. Yep, I think I've got a live location visit up here of that one anyway. I'm not somewhere, I think. See if I can find it for you. I think, let's see. There you go. So that's my live location visit there for that episode. The Foggy Night location, that is. So keep your questions coming in. I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. Yep, all done with a smoke machine. That's all that was. It wasn't fog at all. Like when you see the bus coming through the smoke machine, was that was all like the studio shot. It wasn't actually out on the road anywhere either. Yeah, that's when they're getting off the bus. That's when they're getting off the bus. Can't help miss that bit. That's when they're getting off the bus, and she goes to cross the road, and the bus is about to pull away. Yeah, I think it was stage 5A at the old Wembley Studios at LWT. I think that's the only part that actually remains. I mean, obviously, it's been um, totally refurbished, that building that was the Wembley Studios. It's now a theatre, I think. So where the stage 5A was, it's now been made into like a theatre with a stage. So theoretically, it is still there. I'm sure they could reconvert it back into a studio at some point in the future if they felt the need to or wanted to, if you see what I mean. Um, but the rest of the studios on site, as I understand it, have all been redeveloped. I think there's a video around somewhere. I'll remember it. I don't know if it's on. Yeah, that's right, Neil. I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. I know I've seen it, but it was, or whether it was on something like a BBC iPlayer. but it's when David Jason's going to revisiting his past, and he actually goes back to those studios. I think there was something that he filmed there. I can't remember what it was, so I'm pretty sure it was at stage 5A as well that you actually see him standing on. Obviously, it must have been filmed a good at least 5-10 years ago, I would say. I'm not exactly sure what it was that he done that was filmed there. If you let me check, and I might be able to work it out for you. Let's see. Something that he done at the Wembley Studios anyway. I'm sure it was that same studio block that they took him back to. It's a documentary. I think it's about his looking back over his career. Now that would have been a sound effect just to enhance the thing that it was actually creeping, if you know what I mean. So keep your questions coming in. Any more questions, and I'll answer them for you. Yeah, it was a live audience that they filmed it in front of, Scotty. It wasn't any canned laughter at all. I remember the late Ronnie Chesney said at one of my events, said there was one time that there was that they had to stop filming because somebody in the audience was laughing so much, was the episode The New Uniforms, when Stan gets out a tape measure and starts measuring the sausage. He said if you listen to it on the with that scene, and you can hear somebody laughing really bad. They had to actually stop filming because he was making so much noise, the person laughing. No, he didn't vanish nearly. He never existed in the TV series because the TV series was totally on a different timeline to the films. The TV series and the films were different entities. Don't try and connect the TV series with the films because that never works. The TV series was owned by London Weekend. The films were owned by Hammer. So they had to make sure that they didn't replicate anything from in the films into the TV series, or they would risk copyright infringement. So Little Arthur didn't vanish in the films; he was always in the films. He just wasn't in the TV series because it was a totally different entity. If you see what I mean. Now that can be explained away in many ways, Scotty. You could say it was a phantom pregnancy, or she miscarried, or anything like that. It's not the sort of thing that you would mention in a joke and holiday on the buses and say, "Oh, I miscarried," because it wasn't something that you joked about in those days. If you see what I mean. I think myself that was just put in there as a storyline to stop Reg getting married, because obviously Reg had to stay single. I mean, Holiday on the Buses wouldn't have happened if Reg had ended up getting married and Mutiny on the Buses. Just wouldn't have worked. Can you see how they could have got Reg to the holiday camp when he was married? And anyway, I think Reg said in interviews that he couldn't have seen Reg being somebody who was cheating on his wife, so he wouldn't have wanted to play that sort of part anyway. No, Norman Bird was never in on the buses. Yeah, he was in a heck of a lot of stuff. Norman Bird was. I think he was in. I know for a fact. I'm pretty sure he was in. I know all those things that you're saying there. He was in, but I'm sure he was in. Some others do have them as well. I'm pretty sure he was. Yep, that's Teddy Duggan. Little odd entity and a little odd factory on the Teddy Duggan that you might not know. But he was actually one of the gorillas in the at the very start of. He was in the gorilla suit at the very start of or the ape suit, whichever that was supposed to be, at the very start of 2001: Space Odyssey, when he picks up the bone and starts hitting and when it starts hitting the leopard, I think it is. That was Terry Duggan in that. That was Nosha Powell, Scotty. Oh Christ, what a career Nosha Powell had. That chap, you use him like that chap, but what you don't know about that chap is the sort of career that he had. He was a professional boxer. I think he won I think he was a British middleweight champion at one point or something like that. He also sparred with, I think it was Sonny Liston and Cassius Clay. I think he sparred with. After that, he was a noted stuntman as well. He was in a heck of a lot of the early James Bond films as a stuntman. Done a lot of the war films in the 1960s as well as a stuntman. He was also actor as well. He was in stuff like Demetrius. I think he was in Demetrius and the Gladiators as an actor and a stuntman. He also, no, he wasn't. That was a different person altogether. That was Max Bush, I think that was. But the first man you mentioned there was Nosha Powell. He also was worked as a bouncer, and I think he turned away with the Clay twins. He refused them entry into a pub on the door, and also he was a minder, escort for the Stars. I think he was an escort for Sophia Loren and Sammy Davis Jr. as well. So the lifestyle that the things that he done in his life is absolutely unbelievable. He also had a small part, I do believe, in the Italian job as well. And his sons followed him and went on to be an stuntman as well. I think one's Norman Powell, I think. They're still stuntmen to this day. I know one's Norman Powell. I'm not sure of the other one. I was long there. The sons that went on to be stuntman are Greg and Gary. Right, so I'm going to call it a day at 8 o'clock. So hurry up and get your questions in. Been online for nearly 2 hours now. So if you want to hurry up and get your questions in, post them up now. And I'll answer them. So it's about 9 minutes to go now. Aye, right, Neil. I'll bring up. I might bring up the football match as well. We'll talk about Arsenal. Speaking of football, I'll be off there tomorrow night up to Hampden tomorrow, across to Hampden. Sorry. No, that was the same man. That was Nosha Powell as well. He was in 2 episodes. Nosha Powell. And obviously, he was in the first spin-off film as well. He played Turnaround Betty's husband. Never know, I might do it again, but if I do, it'll probably be Neil. If I done that again, it would probably be on another channel. I might open up another channel specifically just for the Scotland content. If I did that, if you see what I mean, Neil, wouldn't be on here because obviously this is dedicated now purely to on the buses. Yep, that's right. Certainly was. Probably selected as well because he was comfortable. They knew he was comfortable in front of the cameras because he had been a pundit, I do believe, in the 1970 World Cup for ITV. So obviously they knew he was comfortable in front of the cameras. So that's probably another reason why they went for him. And I do believe he might have been injured at the time. So there wasn't any danger of him sort of like having to miss training for his matches and all of that. I think he was out injured at the time. Hi, Delta. If you've got a question, ask it quickly. Nice to see you here, but I'm closing down in 3 minutes. So if you've got any questions, Delta, just ask away and I'll answer them for you. I thought it was one of the weaker episodes in that series, Scotty, to be honest. That was what the Stars Hotel. Okay, so I've been online for 2 hours now. I'm going to call it a night now. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't one of my favorite ones either. Wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't of the high standards that had been before, if you see what I mean. So I hope you've enjoyed it tonight. And I do hope, as I said, to be going down to the holiday camp in the next few weeks. Not sure when that'll be yet. I was hoping to do it in a week or two's time, but that might be a bit too soon for me to be able to do. But we'll see how I go. And you'll know when you get them up here anyway. I'll post them up here. I'll let you know when I'm making that trip. And until on again, I'll say goodbye for now. Okay. Thanks for popping in and everyone asking a question. And I'll say good night to you. Good night.